Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Pallab, glad to welcome you all on behalf of eMobility Plus and the First View Group to the first day of our annual conference, the EV Manufacturing Week 2022, which is entering into its second edition. Hope all you had a good time in the networking lounge, interacting with your peers. If not yet, need not to worry. The network will be continuing after the session till 6 p.m. today. So first, let me give you a quick overview of the event. The EV Manufacturing Week 2022, an event planned with a vision to enhance the understanding of the current EV manufacturing scenario in the country, the supply chain challenges, innovations in scaling up and upgrading the standard in manufacturing process, the new tools and technologies for designing vehicles and in components in order to improve performance and to reduce the cost and time to market. The event will be revolved around four sessions. On day one, we'll be having two sessions. The first session will be on India's EV manufacturing overview, the market trends, challenges, and the opportunities. The second session will be on manufacturing innovations for the first growing EV market and the role of robotics, automation, analytics, and the Industry 4.0. So, like today, tomorrow we'll also be having two sessions. The first one will be the next generation EV design trends, the composites, architecture, and integration. Then the second will be on cutting edge system modeling and simulation solution to optimize cost, range, and performance. So it's time to raise the curtain. But before proceed, I take the pleasure to extend our gratitude to our event's presenting partner, Janamar India Private Limited, for extending their immense support to organize this event. So let's have a glimpse of the good work Janamar is doing in the manufacturing space. I request my team to please play our partner's video. Wow, wasn't it wonderful? Okay. So now, without any further delay, let's begin our first session with the presentation from our presenting partner, Janamar India Private Limited. And for this, we have with us Mr. Himanshu Jadhav, the CEO of Janamar India Private Limited. Welcome on screen, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Pratap. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so maybe I can start by sharing my screen.
Yes, of course, sir.
So I hope everyone, I hope everyone can see my screen now, right?
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the EV Manufacturing Week organized by E-Mobility Plus and Janamar. My name is Himanshu, and I am the CEO and Director for Janamar India. I would like to take you briefly through the process of what Janamar has been doing, and more importantly, what challenges EV manufacturers face, and how we as a automation and tech company are trying to solve those challenges from India itself. A brief overview about Janamar Group first. So, Janamar is a company which is having its head office in Port Elizabeth in South Africa. That's quite unique about us that it's not really known, but it's actually a wonderful place to be there. And automation is really a bread and butter thing for Port Elizabeth and for us in Janamar. In India, we are having our head office in Pune and our satellite offices and service offices in Chennai as well. We also have our group offices in Germany and in US. So that's where we are geographically spaced out. Some key figures is the group's turnover was 55 million euros last year. We have 170,000 square feet of area globally, 650 employees, and out of which 250 employees are in India and are on a steady increase as well. In India, we focus on five business verticals. The first one being powertrain, aerospace, catalytic converters, digital services, and the topic of the day, electric vehicles. So, what has Gendamark been doing in electric vehicles? So, we have been really pioneering in providing customized, indigenously developed assembly lines, and I would like to stress upon indigenously developed assembly lines and testing solutions for several EV manufacturers in India and outside India as well. So, our range of assembly line solutions or machines which we provide are from a component level for battery packs, motors, rotors, transmissions, MCUs, VCUs, the whole entire component assembly level requirements, which are for EV specific components, are provided by Gendamark. Interesting is we are also one of the few companies in the world who have, along with the automation side, also our own developed software solutions under the Industry 4.0 gamut, which is basically our Odin ecosystem. So we don't just provide customized automation lines, we also have our own software supporting the entire assembly line and the processes as well, and it's called the Odin ecosystem. So this blend of automation and software together really sets us apart. And in addition to covering the entire range of components required for EV, the assembly components, how to assemble them, and the vehicle level also. So is covered by us. So for our customers, we are typically now being known as a one-stop shop. So whether you need a battery pack, a motor line, a inverter line, a rotor line, a transmission line, an axle line, that's completely in one location in Gendamark itself. So some of our key customers projects, because I think it's important that we establish our credentials first as well. So we were lucky to get the first order of India's first battery pack line from Mahindra Electric 4 or 5 years back. At that time, there was not really a big buzz, but we got the first project, and that actually kicked off our interest in EV vehicles. So from a typically IC engine component assembly line manufacturer, we started moving towards electric vehicles. Since then, we have been lucky to get nice, good customers like Electra EV, Star Engineers, Trontech, and few more as well, whom we are providing battery pack lines, transmission line for Kalyani powertrain, axles for Zoox in US. For motors, there are many more in this addition to Torque, Kalyani's, Dana TM4, power electronics, DC-DC inverters to Dana TM4. So the list of customers is quite envious for us, and we are very proud about the association we have had and the learning experience our customers actually provided us by giving us this opportunity. We always believe that the customer always has a choice to go to somewhere else, especially our neighboring countries, but to give us the confidence and give us the backing that we can also do it was a good point in the initial stages, which we capitalized on, and now we are an established supplier of electric vehicle assembly lines. Right. So that was about gender mark. Let's now quickly move to what challenges, in our opinion, in our experience over last 5 years working in this segment of providing assembly line solutions to EV manufacturers. What have we experienced? I have categorized into top three ones. I'm sure there will be many more, but the top three ones which we come across, which we are affected by, is unskilled labor, unknown volume of production, and inadequate EV manufacturing experience. So obviously, an unskilled labor goes without saying, because assembly process is quite intricate. It requires rigorous training. Unfortunately, also our labor is on contractual basis, and every time the contract labor moves in, the new fresh guys come in, training has to be done all over again, and it is not a really a simple EV process, EV assembly process, unlike any other IC engine, which typically is quite rugged. So that's where we have seen that unskilled labor is a big challenge for our EV industry. The unknown volume of production, it's a newly developing market. There's uncertainty of requirement. Manufacturers are really not sure that which product of theirs is going to get well accepted in the market, how it will move in the market, how much volume will it get. And also the product is evolving, which means the development is still in process, as it's like I said, it's an evolving complete new market as such. Inadequate EV manufacturing experience is also quite a key issue today. What we are seeing as EV manufacturers are facing, the lack of experience in setting up efficient, flexible lines is what we have realized is a big risk which our EV manufacturers are currently having. In addition, they are completely unaware of what is process security, because what is traceability, and these all topics are really concerning for any assembly manufacturer. So, what are the solutions? Dynamic operator guidance for ensuring that the unskilled labor still gets the right training every time. VR training, stringent physical and digital pokayokes on assembly lines. These more or less address the unskilled labor. For unknown volume of production, flexible line designs adaptable to volume changes is something which will ensure that even if your volumes suddenly spike up or drop down, it should be able to cater to those flexible demands. Scalability within a short span, because if one of your product gets a good review in the market, picks up the customer's attention, you would like to immediately capitalize on that and capture the market, and that should be ensured by a quick scalability. Otherwise, somebody else will take your portfolio. And of course, production for peak volume in what you really expect at the height of your best case business scenario. But at the same time, the upfront investment should not be a, let's say, a backbreaker. So those are the certain solutions for unknown volume of production. Inadequate EV experience, I think it's here there is unfortunately no shortcut, but discussing these situations upfront, and understanding how the experience can be brought in by discussing with several companies, like one of them being Janamar or any other such company who have the experience to explain and emphasize on why it is necessary sometimes to automate, why it is necessary to bring in software solutions under Industry 4.0. So these are the solutions which we personally work on a lot and have supported our EV manufacturers a lot in the recent years to overcome these challenges. So one of the discussion topics, and I know it's a bit of a touch point for many people in the forum, is why EVs are catching fire. And again, we did a bit of research, and again, not the only four reasons, but the four reasons which we found commonly was assembly glitches, improper quality control, child part failures, and overall design flaw. Could be BMS, could be anything in the overall design of the product. And again, there are some of the examples which we have just picked from the web, which shows that this is a real issue concerning all of us and our safeties. And of course, when you have such incidences, then there are potential to have a mass recall. And unfortunately, if you don't have the traceability of which batch, which product, which battery, which motor, which rotor, you're going to struggle to really pick only those which might be affected by a faulty product design. And then what we have seen here now, the huge recall campaigns which have costed billions to GM, Hyundai due to these certain issues. And this is really a serious topic. And as much as we would not want to look at it, I think it's going to be a serious concern in the coming years and days. and it's better we address this as much as we can in the right time when we are on the verge of an EV explosion. So this is our analysis which we did with our research team of where is the gap in a typical EV manufacturing setup. Again, it's not a reference to any particular organization. It's what our research throws out. We are excellent in product development. We have an excellent product design team who in our EV customers who have a brilliant product. They put in hours and hours of research to create this product. So that's why I've given the highest rating we have given for product development or product quality. Now, when it comes to process security, there's not a clear understanding of what really and how much is enough, how much is not enough on process security measures. And what process security, because you have to remember one important thing: you design the product once, but you have to manufacture thousands of these every day in the right process security to ensure the right quality. And that's where we see that the process security part kind of gets diluted, and it's not focused upon by some of the EV manufacturers. Quality control, again, the established players in the market like the Tatas and Mahindras and Ashok Leylands, I think they all have at least a standard procedure of how to have quality control. They may not be having the complete experience of an EV maybe right now still, but at least there is something there in operational standardization, quality control. But when I see and when I talk and discuss with the new entries who are coming into the EV segment, there seems to be a gap in terms of what, because this is the first time they're building a automotive component, first time they're building an electric vehicle, and there we see that there's a bit of a hesitancy of how to ensure quality. And the last but the most important factor is financial planning. There are several incentive schemes running, as we all know, but planning them in, and which means the available capex, where to spend it, how much to put in which area of the entire project or entire process, is a key differentiator in our opinion between a short-term success and a long-term sustainable solution for any EV manufacturer. So it's really important to have a balanced project. An imbalance in spending too much on R&D, too less on security, too high on security, not on R&D, is really going to it's unfortunately going to ensure that the sustainability in the business is gone away. So, some of the distinctive characteristics in EVs, as we all know, electronics is a key element of EV products. Unfortunately or fortunately for us, their electric components are small, critical, and inflammable in nature, which means we have to ensure special manufacturing setups and a totally distinctive practice compared to the conventional IC engine manufacturing process when it comes to making assembly lines, SPMs, or setups for EVs. So I've tried to put in few examples of what we have done and what we are also proposing to several companies in categories like cleanliness. So putting air showers, clean rooms, lint-free clothing, bristle tire cleaner mats. These are some examples. Of course, we have a laundry list of how to implement these and when to implement these under what scenario, but it's an important aspect that cleanliness in a EV assembly line is of paramount importance. Moving on to safety, I think it's an absolute must to have ESD flooring, ESD mats, ESD shoes. Also important when you have a lot of soldering on your EV components to have fume extraction units. So there are several more, as I mentioned before as well, but few key elements we have mentioned are a must for safety point of view for any EV manufacturer. Similarly, on quality control, ionizers, automatic screw feeders, and this is also a very key important solution which we have is when you have VCUs, MCUs, electronic components, most of the screws are all M3, M4 screws. Now imagine an operator putting in 10 M3, M4 screws of different sizes and lengths into a small electronic component. It's bound to happen at some point of time. He's going to miss one or leave one extra, which is untraceable in the bunch of capacitors in the VCU. Now, how do you address that? And that's how the solution is to have automatic screw feeders. So the operator doesn't really have to pick a bolt. The bolt gets shot from bolt feeders behind, automatically tightened in the right location, and nobody has to worry about extra bolts or missing any bolts. So that's also using insulated sockets like we have shown to ensure that there is no direct current charge between any two or short terminals of the battery pack. In terms of product assembly, we are quite proud about our software solution, which we will show shortly, called Odin. We provide complete assembly lines with operator guidance, which will ensure that it's not a thought in his head or written in a document, but a visual played in front of him as he assembles a product, doesn't miss a step. AI based tracking of parts, so we track that operator has picked the right part and going to the right location. He's not missing out on any component, while the assembly process has flexible assembly lines and traceability and reporting in the product assembly. These are few of the key essentials of a good assembly line for a good product. So now I would like to quickly show short video of Odin Ecosystem, a software developed by Janamar for Industry 4.0 for our EV manufacturers to ensure product traceability, data management, and several other facets which you will right now see.
In the new world of smart factories, new era of Industry 4.0, all new convergence of IT and OT, with revolutionary digital vision, Gendamark, with its profound experience in automation and manufacturing excellence, present to you an array of advanced digital solutions for smart manufacturing. Odin Manufacturing, Gendamark tries to deliver a best quality, state of the art solutions to our customers across the globe. We provide an array of products to the manufacturing industries in powertrain, electric vehicle, catalytic converter assembly lines, and aerospace. While focusing on customer-centric approach and with the aim of providing them a variety of digital solutions, Odin Manufacturing was developed. Odin Manufacturing equips the customers with a gamut of digital tools. Odin Workstation, Odin Maintenance, Odin IoT, Odin Future Factory, Odin Health, and Odin Insights are the digital instruments carefully invented considering the present and future needs of our customers. Odin Workstation is a smart digital solution to the challenges that manufacturing industries face. Odin Workstation, it bridges the communication gaps between a machine and a human with its operator-friendly features like real-time monitoring, operator guidance, traceability, and production planning. Odin Maintenance is a cloud-based tool that helps companies reduce their asset maintenance cost and improve the lifespan of their machinery through predictive maintenance. Face many challenges during the production process. We focused on solving the problems and overcoming the challenges with the digital solution, which brought the balanced approach. Giving attention to details, we have developed advanced digital solutions that generates, analyzes the data at each stage of the manufacturing operations without missing human element. Odin IoT helps in preventive maintenance by monitoring the machines and equipment, thereby preventing unplanned downtime. Odin Future Factory is a visionary solution for manufacturing and production that uses latest technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality to create unique solution experiences for our customers. We make our customers future ready by providing the latest tools like AR glasses for production and virtual reality for faster design approval. Odin Health focuses on the most valuable resources of an organization, its employees. It tracks and monitors employee well being. Odin Insight provides our customers a system solution by smart reporting, smart notifications, advanced analytics, and conversational AI. Odin Insight accelerates the decision making for top management with the precision.
Okay, so that was a short video of our Odin ecosystem. I'll not go through the details, but I would like to just glance upon the some of the projects, and that would be the end of my presentation then. So that's a battery pack line which we have built for one of our leading OEMs in India, which is a prismatic battery pack line, cell to module, module to pack, cylindrical battery pack line, which is again for our customers for two wheelers, having an annual capacity of 50,000 battery packs and two shifts. We importantly here I would like to stress upon that we have our own machine developed in India for cylindrical cell sorting, and that's a unique differentiator because unfortunately currently most machines are getting imported from our neighboring countries. or Europe, and we are the only company which is now currently designed and manufactured this several times now. So then we have a radial flux rotor assembly line which we have supplied, uh, radial flux motor assembly line as well for a commercial vehicle, two-wheeler and four-wheeler companies, MCU, VCU lines, which is having the state of art for a low volume production, but ensuring the process security is met and each and every time. Also, application of thermal paste, adhesives, meter mixings with the latest technology are all included in this assembly line for LCU, VCU, DC-DC inverters. For inverter assembly line as well, we have for supplied inverter assembly lines to two-wheeler, three-wheeler companies for inverter assembly. Gearbox line, which is currently in the works right now in a factory and also partially shipped to a customer for a gearbox with a single speed as well as dual speed gearbox lines. Axial flux motor assembly line, which is currently in our design department to have an axial flux motor being supplied to a two-wheeler manufacturer. So yeah, so in summary, I would like to set upon 4 points. Is a EV vehicle and component manufacturing poses a unique set of challenges which are in addition to a typical IC engine automotive company. So which we mentioned few of them before already as well. Now, apart from product, manufacturers should pay attention to process security, traceability, and flexibility to ensure that they have sustainability. And then these are the 4 key elements which will ensure sustainability in the long duration. Data is key. So acquiring the data of your production lines to make right decisions proactively is very vital. And of course, considering India's social economic situation, a good blend of automation and human-centric Industry 4.0 solution is necessary, and that's what we offer. So for any further details, you can go to the scan our barcode here, which shows our EV process and all the progress and all the projects which we have done, as well as you can reach out to me by scanning the other barcode as well, and you can connect with me directly as well. So thank you very much, and I hope it was an interesting session, and I look forward to rest of the sessions in the coming day as well.
Thank you so much, Himanshu sir, for this really insightful presentation and setting up the tone for this show. Now I like to welcome Mr. Pritesh Singh, the manager, Automatic Industrial Consulting Group, NRI Consulting and Solution India Private Limited, to deliver his presentation on building sustainable ecosystem on electric mobility and manufacturing setup. The screen is all yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Pallab. Let me know if my presentation is visible.
Yes, sir. Can you just make it full screen?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Himanshu has delivered an excellent presentation, which I think mostly talks about the capability which Indian auto component manufacturers has been able to develop. If we talk about the electric mobility related initiatives. Pallab, there is some. Yeah, I think that gives a very good idea about how the Indian auto component manufacturers are gearing up and possibility of supplying not even only two-wheelers, three-wheelers, as well as when we achieve a critical mass for four-wheelers. So in today's presentation, I'll briefly talk about 3 things. One, about the need of sustainable EV ecosystem, because around alternate fuels, a lot of talks are happening. And then how EV can address the national objectives or the national challenges, which we say. And then current market understanding, how the market is maturing, and then making India an EV nation. So I think it is known to everybody that automotive industry has a huge contribution towards India's GDP as well as the employment. So other than that, we have 3 critical issues, which is energy security, import dependency, and carbon emissions. So can EV resolve this problem, and what all are other options we have? Possibly the answer is yes, if we have the domestic sources and we basically produce electricity from the renewable energy, and we develop the component industry. Other options we have is, if I talk about the core technology which is common for ICE vehicle is ethanol and CNG. Then in electrification we have hybrids, EVs, and EV retrofitment is also coming up. Now, in terms of EV sales, 7 months data, why I have shown here is that just to compare that in comparison to 2020, 21 has been a phenomenal year, and Himanshu also mentioned that now we are about to see the explosion of electrification. And currently, it's mostly in three wheelers, followed by two wheelers, and there is a huge future even for the four wheelers due to upcoming CAFE norms, wherein we can expect that most of the automotive as well as the Indian OEMs are going to introduce electric vehicles in India. In terms of the number of projections, we see like by 2030, India is going to have around 70% of the three wheelers as electric, 30% of the two wheelers, and commercial vehicle and passenger vehicle segment, and 10% of the passenger vehicle segment. Now, there has been a lot of policy initiatives. I think it is known to all of us, but I would like to kind of mention one observation here is that if you look at the analysis of both the phases of the faster adoption of manufacturing of electric mobility in India, phase FAME 1 and FAME 2, the budget has been allocated like it was only 895 crores, but eventually India has to shift 366 crore to FAME 2. So budget utilization has been a very big issue. So going forward, we can say like there can be expectations in terms of extension of the similar scheme with increased probably incentives uh, in FAME 2. So so three policies are there, which is FAME, High Import Duty and PLI scheme. To develop to create the market, we have FAME, and to create the assembly level localization, I think the PMP is working fine, and then we have PLI scheme, which can ensure the real make in India. And as market creation, as I talked, now you can see in terms of two wheelers, three wheelers, four wheelers, a lot of developments are happening, and in terms of numbers also, numbers are increasing in all the segments: two wheeler, three wheeler, four wheeler, and buses. Now, how let us see how this PMP program is kind of contributing and as a reaction to the industry. So till now, the import duties were less, but because we assume that the assembly level localization has already started happening, so India has decided to increase the import duties. uh, but currently, if just we talk about the passenger vehicle, small cars for electrification, the localization levels are very less as of now. Maybe it's more in two wheeler and three wheeler, but for passenger vehicles, it's very less. For critical units, critical components like motors, batteries, inverters, and converters, it's much lesser than others. So here, the PLI scheme can be a game changer, wherein we are targeting around 50 gigawatt hour, and as a result, 10 bids with the capacity of 130 gigawatt hour has been received under PLI scheme, and you can see the big names here with their technology partners as a consortium. And there is another scheme which is also has got a very good response in terms of like in proposed investments of around 45,000 crores from approved applications. And for electric vehicles and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, we have added advantage in terms of domestic production as well as the exports. So both these schemes are going to kind of act very much positively for the electric vehicle industry. We have some observation and we have some suggestions also. In order to kind of have a very good market creation, we suggest to have long-term policies from the government, which clearly defines quantitative targets which are needed. Then incentive utilization to be monitored and tweaked in case of low uptake. Charging infrastructure expansion needs to be fast-tracked. Schemes to promote financing and leasing is one of our recommendation of EVs based on the certain consulting assignments which we have been doing, and also recently we took a did a very detailed market research exercise. And the EV awareness campaign, something like Clean India initiative at national level, is also one of our recommendations. So in terms of local supply chain development, uh, we propose to have policy to encourage investments in core materials and also policy for battery recycling. I think it's under progress, and we very soon we might see this policy coming out in the public domain. So that is also one of our recommendation. And also rise of import duty, which is there under a phase manufacturing program, can be given some more time considering low scale. So that's all, Pallab, from my side. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm open for any questions if you have.
Uh, thank you very much, sir, for this really interesting presentation. So, can we have a virtual round of applause for both of our presenting speakers? That's great. So, without further delay, to begin today's first panel discussion, which is on India's EV manufacturing overview, market trends, challenges, and opportunities. I would like to invite on screen Sri Sudhendu Jyoti Sinha, who is the advisor, infrastructure, connectivity, transport, and electric mobility, Niti Aayog. Mr. Sohinder Singh Gill, Global CEO, Hero Electric Vehicles Private Limited, and the Director General SMEB. Mr. Nishant Arya, Vice Chairman and Managing Director, JBM Auto Limited. Mr. Uday Narang, Founder, Omega Seki Mobility. Mr. Himanshu Patel, CEO and Founder, Triton Electric Vehicle LLC. Mr. Roy Korean, the Chief Operating Officer, Greaves Electric Mobility. And Mr. Rajiv Vaishar, VP Business Strategy Head, Sales Marketing and PR, ETO Motors, who will also be moderating the session. But before handing over the session to Rajiv sir, I would like to make a small announcement to all of our attendees. If you have any questions during the discussion, please post them in the Q&A box, and our panelists will take them at the end of the discussions. So now I request Rajiv sir to lead this discussion, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pallab, for the opportunity given. And it is an honor to interact with some of the thought leaders and I would say visionaries in the EV industry who are not just in terms of the vision and thoughts, but also in terms of actions, executing and taking things forward. Great to be with you. And there are interesting topics that I would like to bring to each one of you. So as you, of course, the introduction was already given by Palla, but if in case you want to quickly brief about your organization and yourself, you may do that. Let me begin with myself. This is Rajiv YSR. I take care of the sales, marketing, business development, and PR with Eto Motors. Eto Motors is a three-wheeler manufacturing company, as well as an aggregator platform where we serve customers such as Amazon's Big Basket, Flipkart's, etc. And right now, we are also venturing into the charging infrastructure as a business. This is to quickly brief. And along with this, I also help the government of Telangana and multiple other incubators as a mentoring startups, some of them into EVs and some of them into non-EVs. And now, my first question. Let me start this first question with Mr. Himanshu Patel. I've been closely watching different initiatives that he's been taken. And first of all, I really want to thank for choosing Telangana and Hyderabad as the base for Triton that is being, I would say, being planned to be in India. Thank you very much, Mr. Himanshu, for the same. But I just want to understand more from you now that you are working towards setting up the organizations, the factory, and then the supply chain, etc. In the recent backdrop of the shortage in terms of the semiconductor industry, number one. Also, in the current context of the crisis that we have in the Eastern Europe, right, between Ukraine and Russia, where a lot of, I would say, power game and energy game is being planned, which is also resulting in the rising up of some of the important components for the EVs, right? In this current scenario, definitely it's a crisis, but can India use this kind of an, I would say, the environment that we have right now towards favoring of the Indian market or Indian economy, especially from the EV perspective? We would like to understand from you, Mr. Himanshu. You might have to unmute yourself, Mr. Himanshu.
Thank you, Rajiv. Yes, you're absolutely right, Mr. Rajiv. This crisis that's happening in Ukraine. In fact, I'm actually sitting in Washington, D.C. My today's agenda was, some people know that I've actually been appointed by one of the congressmen here for addressing economic development. I'm the chief advisor there for the congressman for economic development as well as energy infrastructure. And the conversation was all about, how we're going to address the issues that we're going to start coming across the board, where the shortage of a lot of the components that are made overseas. We're going to start seeing, logistic issues. We're going to start seeing, workforce issues from the European market itself. It does get affected. And how do we address those issues? My job was to bring the bridge between U.S. and India And of course, I'm gladly to say that I've been pushing hard from both perspective, as as a CEO of Triton Electric Vehicle, as well as perspective of being the chief advisor, that India is a key player for US and other markets to be a supplier, and I definitely see that happening. We are actually just convinced Texas Instrument as well. We have been in discussions with them to bring the know-how and technology to India to set up a semiconductor factory along with Triton Electric Vehicle. I can say that we're in very deep conversations with regards to that, and we're looking very closely to bring that to India. And so, yes, we are very closely seeing that the requirements are going up. We're seeing some of the bigger players now getting in touch with us. As Rajiv, you might know that we're not only building an electric car company, but we're also setting up battery cell manufacturing, PCB board manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, parts manufacturing for automotive parts. So we're giving a full turnkey solution to all the OEM manufacturers like Daimler, like Renault, and a few other players within the US who are now looking at us, turning to us and seeing, hey, look, you guys don't have a supply chain issue because we're not dealing with other key manufacturers in the Asian market that has been creating the shortage. So we do have an advantage, and I think this is the right time to take that advantage in our favor.
Interesting. Thank you, Mr. Himanshu, for such, I would say, insightful things. You're right. We should actually utilize this particular crisis in building the supply chain, in bringing the technology to India, and definitely most of the investors at this point of time are looking at India as one of the stable and safe markets, which can really guarantee good returns for the investments that they make. Thank you for emphasizing once again on that. And now let me move. I would say turn to Mr. Shoinder Gill, Global CEO, Hero Electric, and as well as DG SMEV. So I'm sure, sir, you have been present in the two wheelers through multiple, I would say, ways. One is the most, I would say, the people's vehicles through Hero Electric models. You are there, and in terms of the bringing the technology, I would say, driven products such as Ether, you are already present as right, one of the core investors. Now, at this point of time, I would like to understand from you what initiatives the government and, of course, the industry body might need to take to overcome the supply demand mismatch, and especially so when the supply chain ecosystem is still dependent upon overseas right now. Though our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji started this Atmanirbhar, and different PLI schemes have been launched to drive the localization in India, but we still believe that we are a couple of years away from it. Do you think, are there any additional initiatives that are to be required to strengthen the local supply chain so that the supply demand mismatch can be overcome? To you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. Well, I would say first is the government needs to be commended that enough and more steps have already been taken and are in place from their point of view, because government has a very limited role to play. It's a policy intervention. They can't play into market forces, right? So as of now, almost everything has been plugged. The next step, which is already happening in the government circle, is that it's not a rigid policy. It's not written on the wall. It is something which needs to be reviewed and will be reviewed and amended if required. So with this type of a hope, I don't think so. We really need to worry about any more policy interventions. If there are any kinks, which they are, minor ones, in times to come, there will be so many things that change in supply chain dynamics, and accordingly, the policies will be amended. For example, one of the small kink is in the PLI scheme for automotive, which is being discussed at every level in the government. It could be that there's an amendment of that. But coming back to otherwise, like supply chain being in tandem with the OEMs or in tandem with the customer requirement, surely it is, although it started late because this industry was heavily into imports and there was a very low volume and there was no room for really local guy to invest and hope to make some money out of it. That is gone past now. With the pressure of localization, as well as seeing the demand in the future of a very big nature, like everybody's seeing 30% conversion, 50% conversion. So all investments have a horizon of 3 to 5 years. Therefore, we are now seeing multitude of investments in the component industry, in the supply chain, so that in 1 or 2 years, anything that is a shortfall today, which will be covered up. For example, in the case of batteries, so much has happened in the last 1 year, right from assemblers to cell manufacturers to BMS makers to aggregators. So, and it's only a question of some sort of a little delay there, which will be evened out. So I believe now everybody has a confidence in electric vehicle. Investors are knocking at the door of all the guys, including OEMs and supply chain guys. It's a question of risk-taking capacity and fence sitters who have to now jump into the fray. Because everybody knows that gone are the days of non-electric or liquid fuel vehicles when you talk of mid to long term. So it's better to switch over. So that's the only thing which is pending. Some of the fence sitters have to come this side now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this cannot be said more louder than this, that whatever initiatives that are to be taken by the policymakers and the government are already there. And now it is up to the industry body and then the other relevant stakeholders to take that step of faith, right? Stop being on the fence, as you rightly said, and get into the groove and move things. Thank you very much for those stern, I would say, and encouraging words of advice. Now, let me quickly turn to Shri Sudhendu J. Sinha, who is the advisor in terms of infrastructure, connectivity, transport, and electric mobility to the Niti Aayog. So, Shri Sudhendu J. Sinha, this is I would like to understand from you, while you drive the complete, I would say, e-mobility revolution from the Niti Aayog and then the central think tank perspective, I want to understand from you that what are the present and future policy initiatives more from the federal structures perspective, right? One is, yes, you definitely get in a lot of inputs from the states before you roll out the national level policies, but just not limiting itself towards the policies, but what could be the possible initiatives that can be taken from the federal and then the state government's perspective, which can actually pump fresh and more opportunities for local manufacturers and then the domestic manufacturers to really gain benefits and emerge in the EV manufacturing segment. To you, Shri Sudhendu.
Thank you, Rajiv, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me on this occasion. Regarding the national policy, of course, what Mr. Gill said, that speaks volumes, and all the words of appreciation is there. So kind of you. You rightly said that it is a conscious kind of thought process at the government level, that it should not be alone driven by center, because the kind of federal structure that we have, it is very, very important that the states must own this particular disruption. They should see the merit into it. They should not say that this belongs to the center and therefore I will not be on board with it. That approach should not be there. That is the reason why we have nudged, we have encouraged, we have worked with, we have sat along with, we have roped in international institutions to work with the states so that they are able to come up with their own independent EV policies based on their own strength. It is not a cut and paste, copy and paste kind of stuff. Now, the result is really awesome. As many as 25 states, 28 states, to be more precise, and union territories combined together, they have come out with their own EV policies. And we have been able to convince them that if you have got a clear-cut EV policy where you come out with some trunk and allied infrastructure support that you want to give to the industry, that would be able to attract investment in your state. That will in turn give a lot of employment opportunities and finally bring prosperity to the state. So that is what most of the states, they are now convinced with. So in fact, earlier we used to give the count of the states that are having the EV policies. Now, because they have swelled in numbers, so we give count of states which do not have EV policies. The most aspirational thing is now the states wants to revisit their policy. The idea behind it is that they want to calibrate it, they want to upgrade it, they want to take it to a next higher level so that they do not lag behind as far as the support framework is concerned, as far as showcasing their strength is concerned, that if one state is moving fast, say it could be Karnataka, it could be Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Gujarat, Maharashtra. So other states are also, they do not want to lag behind. And they are also making very, very aspirational kind of policies. And that is why you see that there are states which are approaching us that they want to make a dedicated kind of automobile parks kind of thing is there, automobile component parks kind of thing is there. There are states which are approaching us that they want a specific, say, geography of, say, a tourist or religious significance to be exclusively EV for EV. They do not want any other conventional fossil fuel vehicles to be operating there. Similarly, there are union territories which say that we want to be 100% electric. Ladakh says we want to be 100% electric. Lakshadweep says we want to be 100% electric. And those states which do not have EV policies, we are kind of telling them that it is not all the more difficult. Rather, it is always a major gain if you have got EV policy in position, and you can always correct it. There is no need to be 100% correct in one go. It can always be recalibrated, it can always be revisited, it can always be redesigned. And the best part is that the best of the states, they also want to revisit the EV policies. Very recently, we have been approached by UP, which says that we want to go ahead with this EV policy and come out with all the more aspirational kind of EV policy. So you rightly said that the states are very much on the front of it. We want them to lead it at the front, so that this agenda, which is a global agenda, should not be confined to center. It should be one and all for the country. Yes.
Thank you very much. And no wonder I can completely correlate and resonate with you when you're talking about automotive clusters and in specific EV clusters that are being developed. And very happy and proud to say that Telangana state is one such state which is working on developing such kind of clusters. Again, very close to the electronics cluster, so that the logistics and supply chain is also well taken care. And also, it is interesting to see that earlier states were only focused upon creating the EV policies more around attracting the investors. But I think now the trend is a bit changing, where now they're also trying to encourage the demand generation by adding to the incentives of FAMES 2.0 policies, right? By, for example, missing upon the retrofitment, which is definitely, I would say, kept aside in the FAMES 2.0 for different reasons. Some of the states are trying to complement those particular things by including them in the, I would say, their policies. I think that's very interesting. And 4 years ago, I can still remember that there used to be a lot of push on these nodal agencies from the central and Niti Aayog, but now the things have reversed. There is a lot of pull, right? Seeking what support can Niti Aayog can further offer to penetrate the EVs locally. Yes, you are absolutely right. Things are changing. Now, my question to Mr. Uday Narang, you've been into this industry for almost, I would say, actively, of course, for about a decade, but then producing vehicles for more than 4, 5, 6 years now, right? And I'm sure you're one of those witnesses, right, who has been seeing the rising demand and awareness, especially from the B2B perspective. I do not want to bring the B2C perspective, but the e-commerce, the deliveries, the logistics perspective, you are a co-witness to me how the market is evolving. I want to understand from you, with these escalating, I would say, EV demands and raising investments into EVs and different right initiatives that are happening, do you think, other than the players who are already existent right now, do you think there is still scope for new players to even dream of manufacturing electric vehicles in India? If so, can they really prepare themselves for this lucrative market opportunity that is going to happen? More as I would say, one of the pioneers who have very recently building things, I want to understand your words of advice to the aspiring entrepreneurs into EV manufacturing.
Well, thank you, Rajiv, for the invitation, and great to see such an esteemed group here. The first point I'm going to say, I'm excited to hear, and I always get excited when I see Srinderji saying that, everybody needs to come in. This is beautiful. This is what I want to hear. When I hear leaders like him say people should come into the business and they cannot ignore it, this is what I've been shouting for the rooftops for a long time. And, when an esteemed leader like him can speak like that, gives me a lot of satisfaction. I think that I'm an eternal optimist. I always look at the glass full, never half empty. I think people say the future is electric. I say the present is electric. The electric, green energy in terms of electric, blue in terms of hydrogen, all of this alternate energy and green energy sustainability is what we talk about. We at OSM have continually seen that. I've increased production recently at our facilities. I'm putting up a Pune facility, and I'm just not just looking at India. I'm setting up stuff in globally. So I'm looking to set up a cargo company globally. I am seeing some really, really strong growth. Now, I'm of the belief that you build Rome and they will come. Don't wait for Rome to be built. And I want to be part of that, where I'm putting the bricks up for Rome and so many of the other people. Your question relating to new players, I think more the merrier. My main goal in this is let's build the ecosystem. If we build the ecosystem, it was good to hear, Rajiv, you said you're going to be part of the charging solution. So people that are going to build 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers, I'm coming up with 4-wheelers, tractors. I think the more ecosystem we build, the charging, the batteries, everything needs to be built, and the PLI schemes that are coming out. I think that the 20 most polluted cities in the world is in our country. And I think, I know at this moment, nobody cares about pollution. They care about how much did I save in my pocket. And I think electric can do that. I have 35 years of commodity. I was one of the largest commodity hedge fund managers in the world at one time before I became in this green energy revolution. And crude oil at $140 a barrel is telling me something. Let's move electric more and more. And the cargo sector is prime for that. And so to answer your question, if you've got a new technology, anybody that has got a new idea that can improve efficiency, that can lower cost, that can bring scale, I will welcome them to join me. And I know everybody here would be open to that. See, there are no competitors here. I was just with somebody with a very senior figure in Africa before this meeting, and we're talking about getting into Africa. He said, there are no losers in this business. Everybody's a winner. And I think the scale is so big, the disruption is so much. And I think that, make a strong product, bring quality, bring service, do all of that. Learn from guys like, Surinder Ji. I think that, associations is very, very important. We have built alliances globally. I would say not only just in India, but it has to be make in India. And my belief is that the future is so bright in this space. Now, Rome wasn't built in one day. So electric business is not going to be built in one day. Have patience, build quality products, bring service, give service to the customers, bring leadership, bring dealerships to the, I was in rural Tamil Nadu just last week. You could see the farmers wanting products because electricity is free there. And with fuel oil such high. So I think that, there is a future where we all can work together. I look at everybody as my partners rather than competition. And whichever the best man and woman builds the better product, they win. That always happens, right? So I think that, we welcome at OSM new players, new ideas. We aligned with Log9, with the battery, with the fast charging. We'll align with some more players across this country and internationally. So I'm really excited about it. Look, my energy, I don't need battery. I already got energy 24/7. So I think that we really need to push the complete, ecosystem and build products that are not low quality. I keep coming back to it. One of the reasons why electric vehicles got a bad name is with the cheap Chinese imports that a lot of people did. Now, they can do that, but I think we as a community should build quality products. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Odin. I think you have rightly put a couple of points in the right perspective. That is, the Indian EV ecosystem at this point of time is more collaborative than competitive. There are many instances where the literal competitors come together, exchange ideas, exchange the business ideas, and then understand what problems the industry is facing, and then attempt to solve them. And definitely, EV is a space of collaboration, not of competition. And the second one is 2000s had been an IT revolution, and the 2020s is definitely an EV revolution, and it is yet another opportunity for India to emerge as the global hub of EV manufacturing, ensuring and driving that the localization of the components and localization of the, I would say, systems needs to happen. And we not only become self-sufficient, but we also start exporting to the rest of the world. That's how we become the global hub. And like you rightly said, we are in the right direction. And with more collaborations and more partnerships coming in, this dream of India becoming a global hub is only coming nearer and dearer. Now, at this point of time, let me turn to Mr. Roy Kurian from Greaves Electric, right? Now, while there are, I would say, most of the players so far we have discussed are OEMs and some of them are into policy making. Now, Greaves has taken a different, I would say, business model altogether in ensuring that more number of vehicles reach the end customers, especially from the retailers' perspective. I want to understand from you, Mr. Roy, that I mean, what are your plans, right? Especially with the target of 65% of EVs on the roads by 2030, and you are brand agnostic, OEM agnostic, and you are like, right, Vasudhaika Kutumbam, right? Come everybody, and then we are there. So I just want to understand your interesting, I would say, insights and the strategy on what is your roadmap and what do you think India's roadmap should be to achieve the target of 65% of EVs on road by 2030, please. You are muted, Mr. Roy.
Very sorry for this. First of all, I must congratulate Uday. As Mr. Gill and Mr. Uday both said, like, there's enough space for everyone to come and play. And when I see we are all in electric market industry, and Uday seems to be much more electrified. I'm quite impressed with the way he was explaining. Well, I would like to say that, I'll just give you a brief about Greaves. Greaves is a 163 years old company. It was predominantly an engineering company, and now it is metamorphosed into a giant with commercial, personal mobility, and all type of vehicles. And today we can say we are not a single fuel or single product company. We are basically helping commuting almost 1 million customers a day and 5 tons of cargo. So this is the kind of work we're doing. And when we look at Greaves, yes, we are talking about last mile mobility, and we want to be one of the key contributors in terms of uh, uh, helping customers to mobile, from point A to point B. That's how we look at. And when we talk about India is, we are talking about this country like in 2019 and all, we had an industry of 21 million. Unfortunately, came down to 14 million due to all this pandemics and all. But yeah, it is poised to go back to that level maybe in next 2-3 years time. But it is still a number one country in the world, selling highest number of two-wheelers and three-wheelers, including tractors. We are number one. We contribute to almost 6 to 7% of total GDP, almost 35% of production GDP, almost 8% of revenue comes from the exports. So automobile industry cannot be ignored. It is such a big industry, right? And when we talk about there's a space for everyone, there's a place for everyone, definitely. And when we talk about going to, if I segregate the OEMs with the component manufacturers, even there, I don't see component manufacturers also lagging behind, because if OEMs are contributing to almost say around $80 billion as a revenue or turnover, even these guys are component manufacturers. They are contributing to almost 60 billion. And if OEMs are giving a job and employment to say 40 lakh people, they are not quite far behind. They are at 135, 140. So my point is, it is such a big space. There's a space for everyone to come and play. And the way electrification is happening, I just was looking at the figures, latest figures, last month versus this month. There has been like consistent growth in EV industry over a couple of months. I'm seeing like 10-15% growth is happening. Last month to this month, so far, industry is going at a pace of around 50%. So this is telling us some story. EV is catching up. People are paying attention to it, and it's no more like, especially after pre-COVID, that post-COVID thing. I have seen one thing. Pre-COVID situation was different. Post-COVID situation is very different. People are looking at EVs as a good alternative, and in fact, it is becoming a first preference for them, especially in the bottom and mid pyramid. And
The awareness has increased. Guys are people have the inquiry levels have started increasing. So this is what is happening. So I think moving forward, all the brands are going to grow. There's a space for everyone. More number of players will come. More and more technological development will happen, and then the entire industry will evolve. Because today we are at what 3% to 4% of the total two-wheeler industry. I'm just talking about two-wheeler. Uh, it will the moment it is going to cross to come close to 10%, 15%, and all the overall ecosystem will evolve, and things are going to be better. That's what looks like.
Thank
It's going
you.
to
Thank you very much. Right. So far we have looked at the interesting, I would say, insights from people who are into two-wheeler manufacturing, who are into three-wheeler manufacturing, to a certain extent aspiring to be a four-wheeler manufacturing and truck manufacturing. But now I would like to bring the perspective from the bigger products, right? When I say bigger products, those shared mobility, right? The electric buses. In fact, if at all there is any product portfolio that really benefited from FAME's 1.0, FAME 1.0, that was definitely the electric buses as a portfolio. And the same, I would say, success story continues in FAME 2.0 also, where more than 40% of funds, that is out of those 8,500 crores which have been dedicated for demand generation, more than 40% of those funds are still dedicated to the electric buses as a product portfolio. So at this point of time, I would like to invite Mr. Nishant Arya, who is the Vice Chairman and Managing Director for JBM Group. Want to understand from him and from his perspective of what are the possible technological challenges that that they are trying to solve or they are solving, especially in bringing the shared mobility to India. That is number one. And number two, what if at all they face any policy roadblocks, right? Because here the consumer and then the sponsor is both the government, right? It's a different game. So are there any policy level kind of a roadblocks that you are witnessing right now, and do you have a message for it? Mr. Nishant Arya, it's over to you. I think, is he there? Okay, I think we do not have Mr. Nishant Arya. Nevertheless, let me phrase the other question to again to Shri Sudhendu. That is, number one, while there are different, I would say, testing and certification protocols that we have in place with ERA and ICAT doing, I would say, their roles to play, there were also, I would say, speculations that Indian government is considering certain markets where the direct, I would say, deployment of those products might not necessarily have to undergo through a second, I would say, validation or certification through either at ARA or an ICAT. We want to understand, is that true? If that were true, then definitely it's a positive move. But we want to understand from you on these speculations that are making rounds.
No, you see, as far as certification aspect is concerned, definitely for the standardization as well as certification, we are coordinating with Bureau of Indian Standards, and they in turn are also, for example, in the battery swapping kind of thing, which is the latest that has been announced in this budget. In all the four areas, whether it is the physical form, it is the communication protocol, the connectors, or it is interoperability kind of things. The standards are being developed, specifications are being laid down with the help of stakeholders also. It is not that it is small little teams have been formed, and of course they have to develop the prototype so that it can be taken forward. And once that is in motion, then the idea behind this is that with this we are able to kind of harmonize the stock, harmonize the products so that it can be of a larger use, larger public good. But still, if somebody wants to go in for their own independent kind of stuff, one can never be stopping them. But then he will have to set up his own ecosystem and he may not be able to get the benefit out of the existing one that is there. Now, on the swapping front, also the policies, of course, being guided by Niti Aayog, and the specification standards is being by taken again with Niti Aayog, where he's nudging them with the help of Department of Science and Technology and the Bureau of Indian Standards and the stakeholders, as I consider. Now, kind of revalidating the same specification and standards again and again, probably that is not what is the idea behind this. That is not the idea is. So that is what all is there. And in fact, the question that you wanted to ask Mr. Nishant, that was a very interesting question on buses front. So if I may,
Please go ahead, Sri Sudhendra, please.
so in the post re-strategizing of we decided that okay, buses for buses a different strategy needs to be adopted. It has to be a focused for specific number of cities. So 9 cities to start with, and then where 4 million plus population is there, and the buses have to be they have to be on the OPEX model. They have to be aggregated, and they have to be kind of supported in a specific number of cities rather than thin spread of resources, so that these cities can act as a lighthouse and it can be taken forward. Now you see, buses are probably one of the biggest opportunity. In addition to that, they will be providing public transportation. If you see in India, the total number of around say 18 lakh buses are there, out of which 1.49 lakh, 1 lakh 49,000, 1 lakh 50,000, you can say. That is the number which is precisely for us. That is to say, you can use it, we can use it. And if you see that out of this 1.5 lakh, the majority of buses, some 40% of them came only during the period 2008 kind of thing, when this JNN URM project was launched. So they have completed these kind of 60,000 buses are nearing the end of life, and they are awaiting the replacement. I'm just trying to inform that what a massive business opportunity is existing over there. 60,000 buses waiting to be replaced in the cities alone. For example, you see in Delhi, for example, if you see there are some 3,500 odd buses are there, while the requirement is that of some, if I go by Supreme Court a prescription, it should be somewhere close to 12,000 buses are required. So humongous opportunity business case is there. As of now, we are handling a contract that will be winding up next week. That is for 1,450 kind of buses for 5 cities, and other 4 are yet to participate. This is a massive public transportation support exercise that is going on, and that is the reason why I say that major opportunity, major traction we would see in buses front. So after this 2-wheelers and probably some part 3-wheelers, it would be the buses where you would see that we will be adopting this particular disruption at the most rapid scale. So buses, yes, that is the most interesting area of taking. And we have floated, other than China, probably it would be the largest global tender that is all going on. And it is for the first time that OEMs are themselves now, they are ready to kind of work as operators also. This is for the first time that is happening.
Correct.
These are all some of the salient features of bus front. And as I said, that this is going to give a big support to public transport. And of course, to borrow that famous line of Bogota mayor who says that great cities are not where common people, poor people, they drive cars. It is where the rich people go on public transport.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And this is interesting. In fact, the 6,500 plus buses, I would say, which is being led by CSL right now, is one such a great initiative across the world, definitely. And many, I would say, EV ecosystem as such has really enabled many innovations to come, not just in technology, not just in business models, but also into policy frameworks, because never ever in the history across the world that a government has allowed a glider to be registered without the battery. It is like delinking the engine and the chassis, right? But again, nothing is impossible to India and Indian market. We can be as innovative as possible when the greater interests and then the larger interests are in the right place. Thank you very much, Shri Sudhendu, for once again giving different case studies on and also with this wonderful quote that when the rich travel through the public transport is when we actually can say that the city is well developed and maintained. Now, at this point of time, there is such an interesting trend that we are all noticing in the Western markets where with players such as Volvos and General Motors really committing themselves that by from 2030 they would not produce any ICE vehicles. All the vehicles that they produce are into EVs. We see a lot of I would say skill gap that is emerging. On one hand, the automotive makers are cutting the jobs of conventional talent pool, and on the other hand, the EV manufacturers are finding it really hard to get the relevant talent pool. Now, at this point of time, more from the hand, I would say from the helm of being the DG of SNEV, I would like to understand from Mr. Gill. I would like to understand from Mr. Soinder Gill that how the auto industry is preparing itself to deal with this scarcity of the skilled human resource, especially from the EV's perspective, not just into production, but also into service, into sales, and into different touch points, right? And are there any initiatives SMEV is taking, especially at the grassroots levels, to address this EV skill demand? Over to you, Mr. Gill.
A few things like supply chain or clean energy or skill, these are obviously the focus areas for the country, also for the industry and association, because they seem to be leading factor, but they are now lagging. But that's what we do always, like things catch up. And in skill building itself, I've seen in the recent 2 years uh, initiatives by the auto industry themselves, like who are into electric, they have taken self initiatives of small or medium nature to at least do their bit in terms of the one of the initiatives that we have seen is on the roadside servicing, which is normal mechanics whose livelihood is threatened. So now there are around, as per my estimate, there are 15,000 so-called roadside mechanics have been trained by some of the members, and they have been classified as certified as level 1 and level 2 to be able to take care of primary needs of services. Similarly, through the institutes that we are in touch with, we have seen induction of basic courses which were never there focused on electric mobility, and now there are some semesters or full-time courses
Yeah.
by some institutions which have been introduced. That's a very welcome step. But I believe this is nothing to be frightened about or nothing to be threatened about by the petrol side, like their skills will the guys will be jobless or something. No, India is quick to adapt to the people here. They're very flexible. They are quick to adapt to changing, and it could be a career growth. In fact, a new type of a career growth because it's also skill uplifting.
Absolutely.
It's from mechanical to electric to electronics. So it's going to be cutting edge skill by the same set of persons who are going to feel threatened for the job. So from that point of view, I think yes, there could be a little more integration of these efforts between institutions, industry, associations, and perhaps a little bit of public sector influences also. But there is no time lost, I would say that, in the skill building. Now, as far as individuals are concerned, people have found their own homegrown solutions over here. For example, around the world, even online education on skill impartation on electronics is so much available that we have seen in India, so many of our R&D engineers in many institutions are in the evenings and in the holiday time are getting this international exposure to what's happening on the technology side, and they are becoming much more powerful in the field of R&D, electronics of electric mobility. So I would say to sum it up like this, yes, industry has taken some small steps, association is helping that, institutions have come in forward, little bit of government and public sector is also pitching into it. There is already national skill movement is there. So many things are happening. I think in a year from now, we would see more integrated efforts. And by the time the volumes come to a level where the skill requirement or vacuum is felt, things will fall in place.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Gill. And at this point of time, I would like to highlight one of the initiatives taken by the government of Telangana. So that because the industry leaders are here, probably we can see how you can also maybe contribute and then make this really work. So T Hub, which is the incubator of the government of Telangana, has started very recently called EV Masterclass. And then the intent of the EV masterclass is to encourage entrepreneurs specifically into EV industry, provide them access to the right ecosystem, give them needed seed funding, pre-series, pre-seed funding for the entrepreneurs and youngsters to really try their ideas and then build. And secondly, even for the mid-career professionals and students who would really like to steer and pivot their careers in EVs, this EV masterclass has been launched, and I would say many leaders, such as, say, for example, Ms. Sulaja Firodia and Mr. YVS Greaves Retail Head, and Kartikeya Haryani Charge Zone, and I mean many such kind of industry leaders are mentoring the students and then the startups in this particular through this initiative. And if it is okay, I would recommend the state government of Telangana to get in touch with some of you if you are keen to really encourage and support. It would be a great thing. And absolutely right, Mr. Gill. This is definitely nothing to really worry about. But yes, if proactively work together, the upskilling can actually create even better opportunities, right, to the Indian youth. And I think this has been such a fantastic discussion, gaining the insights from all the eminent panelists. We have panelists joining from as far as Washington, D.C., and at a very, very odd time. A special thanks to Mr. Himanshu Patel. You have been really kind and patient to join from there and then share your insights. And of course, to Dr. Shri Sudhendu for sharing his insights from the perspective of policy makings, and Mr. Gill for bringing an overall, I would say, perspective. As Mr. Udayanarayan said, you are being definitely seen as a bigger brother in this EV ecosystem, and we always look up to you to understand your directions and to your insights. Thank you very much for being very open and electrifying, I would say, OSM Udayanarayan. Thank you very much for making such statements that, right, we are more collaborators and less competitors, and we need to ensure that the ecosystem evolves. So that is great. And lastly, Mr. Roy Kurian, thank you very much, right, for trying to build the gap, especially with the retail market through Greaves. All right, I think it's a fantastic evening with all of you together. And thanks eMobility Plus and Pallab for giving the opportunity. And this is Rajiv YSR signing off for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was indeed a great session. But quickly, before opening the Q&A for the panel, I would like to welcome Mr. Himanshu Jadhav, the CEO from Janamar India Private Limited, on the screen for a short interactive session with all our esteemed panelists. Himanshu, sir?
I think he's not there. Probably in the meanwhile, let me take a couple of questions and then, see if we can. Is he there? Yeah, he's there. He's there. Please go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, please, sir.
Just quickly. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, Himanshu in Washington. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you very much. And it was indeed an excellent session to see all the eminent personalities giving their take on the EV ecosystem. I quickly jump to, and will not take much time, a few interesting questions which I have thought of as I heard the sessions, starting with Himanshu Patel. Yes, hi. So, because you're operating out of US and now also India, I just wanted to understand what are the differences that you see in. Of course, there is going to be a huge difference in terms of operations, the way things are done in US and the way things are done in India. But I'm more keen on knowing your aspect in terms of setting up a operational facility in India with the technology gap which you see and which you have must have experienced. So because my thought is simple, our problems in India are a bit different. So can we have the same solutions from US put in India and to run a successful business as you intend to do?
Himanshu is a good question. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is that Triton Electric Vehicle was actually owns another company called Triton Solar,
Yes.
where we were manufacturing lithium battery cells and as well as lithium battery packs for the last 12 years now. And being in that space for 12 years, we know the challenges, not only from the US perspective, but as well as Dubai, where we have a facility there, as well as understanding the Indian markets, needs, environments, controls. These are all things that we really do understand because, we were in that space. And being a global company, as far as also having a facility out in Canada for our battery cells and battery packs, Being doing business in Alberta where it's minus 40 degrees, and doing business all the way in Dubai where 115, 120 degrees and Fahrenheit, of course. I'm sorry. You really get to get the differences between all over the world. And as everybody on this call, everybody on this conference might know, that EV relies a lot on your battery, and battery is the hardest component to get adjusted when it comes to automotive. The remaining portion of the vehicle is all electronics. What we've done is, we've not cheapened out on the cost. A lot of people are trying to build a cost-effective vehicle for Indian market. We're building a quality vehicle for the Indian market. So we always took the highest standards, which is what I would say, in my opinion, is either the extreme of Dubai or the extreme of Canada, and built the vehicles that can last in both of those markets. So what we mean by is it can tolerate the minus 40 degrees temperatures, and we've also built it so that it can tolerate up to 120, 130 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit in temperature. So we've kind of built our vehicles with military specs. As mil spec is our requirement for all of our controllers. Every one of our controllers that we manufacture in-house, which is MCU, VCU, MMCU, DC to DC controllers, the DOS system, they're all built on mil spec, US mil spec. And US mil spec has the highest requirements as a standardization. So, when we built at the highest level, going into the Indian market or going into the other markets, it's a very easy process for us to walk into that market and say, we're going to be doing business here. So yes, it costs us a little bit more money, but at the end of the day, at least we have a peace of mind, and we don't have the issues that you were talking about earlier of, how do you deal with the fire, and how you deal with the PCB boards. So we built it on a mil spec basis. And we also do a lot of business with defense as well. This is the other reason why we have partnered with Bell, India's aerospace and defense company. In the US, we're doing a lot of work with Department of Homeland Security. Again, so taking the two parts of the world, has given us that opportunity to build a quality product and still be able to sell it in the market of the journal market with the mil spec.
No, I understand that. Maybe if I can just retweak the question, I was more concerned about the mindset when you set up a factory in US, and the mind. I'm sure your product is wonderful and it's going to do fantastic all over the world. It's about setting up a factory in US vis-a-vis setting up a factory in India. In terms of, because the language barriers, the issues in incomes which we have, or different social standings which US and Indian situation is currently. How do you deal with those kind of situations?
So we have partnered with Bell for making our battery cells. We brought the technology, we gave it to them. They have a facility in the US, as well as I'm from India originally, so I don't have that barricade where a lot of the General Motors and Ford and Tesla had. I understood the ethics and how it works and how to adapt to it, because I've been doing it for the last 20 plus years, going back to India and doing business with our family. It was a little bit easier, I guess you can say, on our side. But as well as Niti Aayog also made it very easy. Amitabh Kant I've been in touch with for the last 5 to 7 years. And he's made it very easy for me to come into the Indian market, understand the market. For the last 5-7 years, I've been doing that with the government. And at the same time, dealing with the barricades of, how the labor force works and stuff like that. When Ford shut down, we took over 36 of their executives from the top side, which made it a little bit easy on us, because they are already in the norms of American and as well as Indian norms. So just to give you that answer, it has been a little bit easy, I guess, on us, just because we were at the right place at the right time. Fantastic. But I would say that for others, it would be a very challenging component. Yeah. And that the work you guys are doing and the team effort that everybody in the EV is putting, I'm very happy to see that everybody's joining forces and not trying to fight each other, yes. which is a key, because that's what's going to make success for India, in my opinion. That a lot of the players are not fighting each other. They're just saying, okay, guys, let's figure it out. Let's JV partner with this guy for PCB boards or controllers. Let's partner with them for motors. Let's partner with them with batteries, and that's kind of what you need in order for the automotive automotive industry to really grow fastly and quickly that we see in India today. And we need to kind of slow down on the process of buying stuff from and I'm glad to say it over the conference, China, right? Just dumping quick products into an Indian market, and not educating the people with the batteries and how to handle them and how to deal with them. These are also challenges that Tatas and Mahindra seen early in the ages in 2017 when they were just buying it from China and they weren't getting enough education and there wasn't enough knowledge in the ground and they were dealing with that challenges. So again, thanks to the way we were operating and the way we adopted to take on employees instead of trying to re-educate somebody. We went into an existing facilities that just let go of the people. We kind of hired those same automotive industry people and we educated them on the EV side, but they already had the automotive side.
Yeah, thanks. So from our namesakes, wish you all the success, Himanshu.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. So my next question is to Sri Sudhenju Sinhaji. Good afternoon, sir. I hope you're doing well.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I've been hearing all the nice schemes which Niti Aayog and the government has been rolling out, respective state governments as well. But maybe we are unclear from our side, and I speak on behalf of the companies like Janamar who are into building machines and equipments and facilities and testing facilities and factories. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on product creation, which is sold to the customer, like electric bus. Incentives for electric bus, incentives for electric scooters, incentives for vehicles, but somehow, and I said I speak on behalf of companies like Janamar who create facilities for the products to be manufactured in mass quantities, which is what you're looking for. There seems to be we are kind of left, if I can say candidly, high and dry. So we are providing a lot of machines and equipments to all these MNCs coming into India, and as well as local companies like Mahindras and everyone. But somehow we are struggling to see where do we fit in the ecosystem, like Mr. Udin also mentioned, that the ecosystem should be inclusive of everyone who contributes towards EV. So I would like to please understand if there is any missing information which we lack, that when we make equipments which allow products to be manufactured, is there something which we can do about getting some, let's say, acknowledgement, rewards, benefits to us?
No, your point is well taken. You rightly said that the PLI schemes are definitely towards the product and not probably the process that is involved in the product or the machines that are involved therein. Maybe as a kind of second tranche that could be taken up, yes.
Yes,
But
I would
of
really
course,
appreciate
that would require a lot of arguments to be built around what exactly multiplier effect it would generate, and kind of a complete logic has to be built around it, because all the PLI 14 of them with the investment of some say 2 lakh crore rupees, that is very clear, because that is going to take country into a new orbital transformation altogether. But yes, if you so strongly feel about the machines and the kind of framework and the structure that are kind of providing the foundation for all that, that could also be taken up. But yes, that argument will have to be built around.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, because when I'm posed with unique products like Mr. Gill or Mr. Arya also, they all make fantastic products, and then the task obviously is on us and companies like Janamar to make mass scale production possible. And then currently, unfortunately, it seems like Himanshu Patel also mentioned, the answer is let's look towards China. Because there it's set and it's working there. Why not just bring in 6-7 containers and then set the lineup, which was also the trend before what we saw 4 or 5 years back. But now that trend is gone, because there's no sustainability, because there's lack of service support, there's lack of on-call service, the equipments don't get long-term support, and then we have seen that there is gaps in understandings which can hamper, in our opinion, the sustainability of EV business. So that was just a thought from my side. I
Mr.
hope.
Himanshu, Mr.
Yes.
Himanshu, if I might just add that in all these PLI schemes, if you see that the incentives flow only once the desired level of localization is there.
Absolutely.
That is precisely a way of saying that you need not be looking always kind of beyond Himalayas. It could always be inside. Yes.
Yes.
Thank
No,
you.
look, we do all our work in India, so I'm quite proud and happy about that.
Great. Great.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Sinha sir. I look forward to hearing at some point in a discussion of how we can the second tranche we can consider machine manufacturers. Great. Uh, yeah, I think my last question would be to I don't know if Mr. Uday Narang is still in the call in the conference.
Yeah, I'm here for a quick 5 minutes, mate. I got to run.
Absolutely. No, just 1 minute. I just wanted to thank you for the energy which you have brought into the show. I think it was brilliant to see your energy again. You just touched upon a very basic point of the quality aspect of the products and how you are very keen on not offering, and which I think everyone seems to on this panel. Everyone seems to be acknowledging and accepting that there is no point in bringing low quality products because it's not sustainable. So, how would you like to see quality being brought into the process, because we have spoken about the product a lot, but I just wanted to understand your perspective of quality being brought into the process of manufacturing EV components.
Sure. Thank you. Look, I think that, what is really, really important, it was great to see again here, from, Himanshu Patel about, I'm building vehicles. I'll give you an example. In Africa, I'm going to be building vehicles in the UAE, and the temperatures he said on batteries are, at 110, 120 degrees. I'm looking at stuff where it'll be minus 20 or minus 30. We are working with Log9 right now where the battery can do minus 30 to plus 50, 60, right? The process, we also, I have history, Omega has a history of 52 years. We make automotive components, for all the large OEMs. I think quality of parts, quality of, testing, making sure that we only get one chance. I think, where I am seeing is for a quick buck, and I wish all of the IIT, and I'm not from IIT, I'm an old guy, but I'm saying that all of these young guys making one prototype and telling everybody, we got the product, right? And let's raise several hundred. That's good. That's good for the ecosystem. But I think, it's not just one battery or two battery or one car or two car parts. It's hundreds and thousands of them. And all I could say is, we should take time. We should make sure quality will win in this race. The big boys are here. I mean, us small guys are in this game too. I think the survival will be of people that provide, in the systems, we use, testing, make sure that your products are reliable, make sure that, it gives the test of time. We do that, we'll bring success. And I think this is very important. I think as a community, as a group of people in this group and much larger groups, all I would say is don't go for a quick win. Let's run marathons. I'm into fitness. Sprints is not what I do. Let's run marathons. So in our products, in our, quality of our products, in our testing, in our validation, let's bring that. We did an alliance on powertrains with the Koreans that can bring a lighter, efficient, we were going to bring with IP67 that can stay underwater for more than 50 minutes. I mean, you see the roads in India when you get rain, right? I mean, it is terrible. And so if the products are not good enough, what hurts me is to see, the battery producers, these fires in two-wheelers that we have seen. It gives us all a bad name, right? And it gives an existing, for me, the IC game is over. It has been over. Whether people can have us for breakfast, lunch, or we will eat them for breakfast. That's a separate story altogether, if you know what I mean. My point, because before breakfast comes before lunch, so somebody might eat it for breakfast before it comes to lunch. The point is, I would say that let's build quality products and let's make sure that we do enough work on every part of the vehicle. That is what is our responsibility of all of us. Anyway, thank you so much. I got to run, guys. Really
Thanks.
Great to see you all, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Well, that was all from my side. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for this, very much interesting and interactive sessions. At this point, I would like to thank all of our esteemed panelists and especially Rajiv Shah You were absolutely outstanding. Thanks so much for terrific and very professional example you set as a moderator. So, can we have a virtual round of applause from all of you?
For lunch.
I'm sure if this would have been a physical event, we could have got a standing ovation for this amazing panel.
पर वो मिस नहीं करती ये चीजें देख एक सर्टेन टाइम देना चाहिए उसके बाद
Great, great. So, but the show is not over yet. We are taking a short networking break and we'll be back within next 10 minutes. Just for another exciting session in just 10 minutes. Till then, explore our networking lounge, network with your peers, and join our sponsor on the networking table. Thank you. We'll be meeting you at next 10 minutes.